Well, joining me now is the author and playwright Bonnie Greer, TalkTV contributor and lawyer Paula Rhone-Adrien, and the podcast host from across the pond, Hotep Jesus. Well, welcome to all of you. All right, Paula, let's start with you, because I know what you're about to say is going to make me infuriated and it's going to be utterly insufferable.
Excellent.
These are two crests that carry images of sailboats.
Yes.
It's got nothing to do with slavery or racism.
If that's your opinion, then you're entitled to have it.
It's a fact.
Well, you don't know that, Piers, and the historians are being asked to look into that. And that's what should properly happen, shouldn't it? Because when you tell us about history and how important history is, what we want to do is to ensure that we have got this right and we are going to grow from this experience.
Yeah, I'm not growing from it.
We're not going to deny it.
I am growing from this experience. I'm growing very annoyed.
And
I'll tell you why.
Why are we annoyed?
Let me tell you why.
Why are we weary when we talk about slavery?
No, I'm not worried about that. I thought slavery...
tired when we talk about World War I or World War II.
Like everybody I know, I thought slavery was disgusting, and I'm very, very glad that everyone came round to their senses it was disgusting and that Britain actually led the way in ending the damn thing. Of course I do. Slavery was disgusting. However, it turns out the historians say Manchester didn't adopt ships as an emblem until 1842.
Apparently
35 years after the abolition of slavery.
Yes.
So they would have had nothing to do with it.
And how do we know that? We don't know that. So what you are doing is you are taking one understanding of a situation.
So you're believing the historians that suit your narrative?
It's not what I believe, Piers. Let's be clear about this. We're having a debate. And that's what is important about this.
It's not, Paula.
It's to be able to have a debate about something that happened in history.
We shouldn't be looking at pictures, little pictures of ships on a footballer's crest badge. Who cares? Well, it's got nothing to do with it.
Well, clearly, I'm sure the players at Manchester City and Manchester United, those who advocate, show racism the red card...
No, here's what's going to happen.
They will care about it.
Here's what's going to happen. The Guardian, which has just been caught with its racism trousers down, right, because it turned out they were founded by a bunch of slave owners, right? So they're the last people on earth to be lecturing about this.
Is that right? Aren't they the right people?
No,
actually,
they're not. They're not. Because I found their hand wringing over that utterly ridiculous. I'll tell you why.
Well, they've apologised.
Every single family in Britain, if you go back far enough, you'll have people in their past, hundreds of years ago, who employed slaves, almost certainly.
And therefore?
And therefore, we know that was wrong then. Why should everybody today who had nothing to do with it think it was all terrible spend their entire time apologising for it?
It's about education, first of all, just education. And the second thing it's about, and you know this, we always rewrite history. We rewrote World War II because we found out about Bletchley. A person who grew up in the 50s would have a different World War II than a kid now because we found out about Bletchley. So we are getting more intelligent. And that's one thing that's happening. And I mean,
Bonnie, you can't be serious.
Hang on. And the other thing, the United Kingdom was actually on the side of the Confederacy during the Civil War, and in fact was going to send a ship to the Confederacy to fight for it when it was stopped and warned by Lincoln and paid an indemnity to the United States.
Who is going to pay me and my family reparations for what the Vikings did to us?
Well, I think you should seek it out.
Who's going to?
Explore it.
Seek it out.
So literally, so we go back over every invasion, every bad thing. Hang on, let me finish.
It is the ideology
let's try and have a conversation.
Denial.
No, it's not.
Ideology of denial.
I'm not denying anything happened.
So then let's deal with it.
No, what I'm saying is once you start this woke rampage, there is no end. A bit like the statues of historical figures. They're all... Guess what? Hang on, let me finish. Ladies, give me a moment. All historical figures are flawed. You can find flaws in Mandela, in Gandhi and Churchill. It's why they had to be boarded up, their statues at Parliament Square, so the mob didn't attack them. But if we take this route, everything, all the time, we have to be apologising, paying for... Why? How does that move us on?
What's wrong with an apology? Nothing is wrong with that. If you...
I'm very sorry that hundreds of years ago people behaved badly.
It's not anything to do with hundreds of years. We acknowledge it. We always do that. That is what history does.
Why should footballers have to remove crests that contain images of ships, which, according to many historians, were adopted as an emblem 35 years after slavery was abolished?
Well, it was abolished, but it wasn't over. Okay, and that's
so
the
all
point.
are all ships racist?
Well, no, we don't know that, but we need to investigate.
Are all ships racist?
We need to investigate it. Why not? What's
all
wrong
ships,
with that?
All ships could be racist.
No, why are you going to make a generalization about it?
You see how ridiculous this sounds?
That's a ridiculous point, and you are.
All right.
You are.
All right. So you think?
And I think the Irish should talk to the Norwegians.
No, honestly,
I think the Irish should talk.
And also the Italians and the Romans.
Why
wow.
not? Why not? Why not?
What's going to happen about the Romans?
Why not?
I need reparations for what Rome did to us.
I think the Irish should talk to the Icelanders.
It's
because
preposterous,
it was a slave.
Bonnie.
No, it's not preposterous. It's good dialogue.
No, you know what it is? Here's what it is. It's exhausting.
Well, that's different.
Honestly, this woke mentality is so exhausting. I feel myself literally getting tired as I listen to it.
Try being a black female.
You shouldn't.
I am sure being a black female can be wonderful. I can have its challenges.
We don't need to have this kind of
Trust
argument.
me, walking around being me ain't no bed of roses either.
If you're talking about being exhausted, it's the exhaustion of the pursuit of knowledge.
Let me bring in our very patient third guest from across the pond, Hotep Jesus. Hotep, you've been listening to this. I'm under attack here.
Nah, no.
All right. Hotep, my general point is this. I think slavery was horrific. I think if you basically chart back from almost any family in Britain and America, you'll find some evidence somewhere that someone in the family probably was employed in using slavery when it was going on. But I just don't understand the point of this constant series now of recriminations, reparations, apologies, guilt trips, and so on. I don't know what point it serves.
I worked at a tech company once, and we know how rife they are with leftism. And in casual conversation in the office, I said, I want to be a national master in chess one day. And this white girl said to me, she said, don't you feel offended that they use the term master in the title? And I just looked at her like, that thought never crossed my mind. The same thing if I were to go to the harbor and I would see a ship, I would not think of slavery.
Right.
There's a huge fascination with slavery amongst Black people where our educational system, our upbringing has tied us to this travesty in human history and made us want to identify with it instead of identifying with richer parts of our history. Now, here's the issue that this comes down to. Women are going to see the world, frankly, different from men. Women are very emotional. So, of course, they're going to be worried about, what's on the badge and all this stuff. When we look at the UK, right? The UK has about 4 million starving children.
What is this?
Right now. And that doubled since the past 2 years.
My brother, Hotep.
Do you think that children that are hungry care about some badges? They can't eat football badges.
Brother, Hotep.
What leftism does is they try to sidestep the real dilemmas and worry about all of these frills on the outside, on the exterior.
Well, you know what, Hotep? Let me
get
just
to the root of the problem.
Apart from saying that you've made two really good friends here with your women get too emotional.
One from the south side of Chicago. Really impressed, brother.
And I'll let you three deal with that after the show. But
really impressed.
I've got two things to say to what you just said. One is there was a genuine debate in Australia several years ago because an academic went on the airways and claimed that chess, which you just talked about, was racist because the white pieces went first, right? And I remember thinking at the time, the only time anyone in the world would think that that was the case was if some academic decided to pop his head up and go, it's racist. Nobody actually believes chess is racist for that reason. And secondly, on your second point about current things, I read today that there are between 7 and 8 million slaves in India alone at the moment. Now,
correct.
Now, if the Guardian newspaper wants to launch a campaign against slavery in India, I'm all in. I'm all in for any current slavery going on anywhere in the world. I will join that campaign. But going back several hundred years to a spurious argument, which turns out may not even be historically correct, about badges on football players where they show ships, therefore all ships are racist and therefore they must be removed, to me is preposterous.
Well, they did the same thing here in America. They wanted to remove Aunt Jemima from product packaging. They want to tear down statues. They're tearing down Lee, Robert E. Lee, I believe his name was, famous general.
Wants that to happen, brother.
A whole bunch of people are involved in what Jay-Z has a quote. It goes, moral victories are for minor league coaches. When you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of things, you look at more important issues than just badges on a football uniform. I just don't get it.
Do you know something? You just used the phrase nitty-gritty. That itself has been banned now.
No.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yes, it has.
No, it hasn't.
No,
banned it?
I have
Banned
seen
it.
people say that is a racist term.
Yeah, well,
And they and historians
Listen,
have told them that they're
I'm
wrong.
sitting
Right.
here.
So
I'm
you accept
sitting
that
here.
these historians who pop their head up saying all this stuff can be
Because it's been
completely
researched.
wrong.
It's
First of all,
been
I want to get
debated.
your collective reaction to the suggestion that this is really a female thing.
That's-
That you women are a little over-emotional
That
about
is,
badges.
I've never heard
Yeah.
a man say that for a long time.
Right.
So that's
I think that's
an
Well,
hour.
in the internet fair
that's-
play,
that's
what is
a
your
long
response
time.
to
And I would have
Hotep?
liked to ask him what he thought about the American football clubs who have changed their names because they referenced various members of society who didn't think that it was appropriate that they should be called those names. We have rugby clubs who have changed their names because they didn't think that it was an appropriate.
But we're not
thing to
talking
call
about
them.
we're
So
not
when we
talking
look
about
at-
potentially
just to-
inappropriate or inflammatory names
So-
which have evolved over years. We're talking about
But it also went with the
images
emblem.
of boats.
Well, it also went with the
They're
emblem.
boats.
Well, I know
We-
what
we-
they are, but it's what they
can I
represent.
just say-
Piers.
Yeah, Hotep, come in.
Yeah, please, Hotep.
Yeah, because she wanted to know my opinion on, I
It's
believe
Paula.
it's
It's
the
Paula,
Washington
by the way.
No,
Commanders now.
no. We have names, brother.
I'm sorry.
We have names,
say that again.
brother.
Who's the sister that
My name is
addressed me
Bonnie.
about the
This
football?
is
now.
Paula.
We're sisters
Now we're
now.
sisters. That's so nice. Thank you. Proceed.
Sister Paula?
Proceed.
It's Bonnie.
Okay.
It's Bonnie and Paula.
From the
Hotep.
south side of Chicago.
Love y'all. Love y'all. Great
Okay,
energy.
brother, keep
and I'm
going.
on your side. And I'm on your side. But when I see a
side is
football
that?
team
What side
change
is
its
that?
names
Yeah.
to Commanders, I'm like, what is that?
Are you insulted?
It's a
Do you
joke
feel
to me.
insulted? Do you feel insulted?
Well, Commander is
No,
surely.
no, I don't
surely
feel
Commander
insulted.
is
I'm
also.
just-
do you feel shaken up?
But surely here's the
No,
point.
no,
Hotep,
it just it's
Hotep, isn't the word commander itself? It doesn't that suggest white supremacy because most commanders around that time were white.
And you're
so
named
you
after,
change it to something that
you're-
also
you're-
is racist.
and
There
you're
is no
named-
word you
and,
can
and
use.
you're named after an Egyptian pharaoh. So give us. Are you offended by all of this or what?
I'm not offended. Why would that's the whole thing? People are offended by the name of the team.
By people
I'm not
wanting-
offended.
You're offended
no, I'm not
by
offended.
people. Listen, you're offended by people who want to actually pursue an injustice from the past. It's not a strange thing. It's not unusual. It is not
No, I'm
unusual
not.
thing for human beings to
You
do.
can't conflate those two things.
Oh, I'm doing it.
I am. I am for that.
Okay, let
I am
Hotep
for that.
respond.
Yes, sir.
No. What she said is just inaccurate. She tried to conflate two things. She tried to say I didn't care about the travesties and conflate that with something about the football team is going to change that.
Right.
No, I agree with you. There are real issues that need to be dealt with. Changing the football team is basically not tackling the problem.
Exactly
You're ignoring
right.
it. It's a way to
It is
waste time.
tackling
It's
the
a way to
problem.
waste a
Sir,
budget.
If we admit to, and this is in psychoanalysis, that there is such a thing as generational trauma, okay, it does exist. It does exist in families, and it can exist in a people. Now, I'm not going to go all the way and say, do this, tear statues down, because I don't think taking a statue down solves anything.
You're going to go after the badges on football.
No, I'm not going to go after badges.
We're going after the debate.
But the
Piers.
debate
We're going
is
after the
okay.
debate.
There is
The
no
debate-
debate.
there
They're
is a
badges.
debate.
Listen.
There is
But
a
this goes
debate.
back to the this goes back to the gender
Everyone
conversation.
hold their horses. If that isn't a racist term. I don't know. Maybe horses get offended.
Well, if you keep saying it might
Here's
be.
my point, Paula. Everybody is offended by everything. And so
I
once
don't agree with you,
once
Piers.
you assume that we have to start feeling guilty for our past, there is no end to it.
Who's
I
talking
think the
about
Irish.
guilt?
I think the
Who's
Irish
talking
should
about
go
guilt?
after the
That's a very
Icelanders
emotional term
because
to
the
use
Irish
in
were
a
enslaved
debate.
by Iceland. I think they should
It's
do
a
it. Why
very
not?
emotional term to use
Yeah.
in a debate.
All right. What I would love to do is have a campaign to close down The Guardian. I think that would be hugely popular. I think because of their outlandish links to the slave trade, The Guardian should fall on their own virtue-signaling swords and close themselves down as a matter of... They should cancel themselves. So if you're watching Guardian journalists, I know you probably are, I'm your guilty pleasure. If you're watching, cancel yourselves tonight.
And they'll do what you
It's
say.
the right
Yes.
thing to do.
They'll do
You
what
are
you say.
tarnished by your slavery background, and you must end the Guardian newspaper as a matter of urgency in the national interest, and then you can all run off and feel guilty for the rest of your lives about the shame you have
And they'll
wrought
do what you say.
on everybody.
And when you're writing out your check, Piers, I'll remind you how to spell my name.
I know how to spell your name, Paula. I know how to spell your name.
He writes a check to you.
But I'm first of all waiting for my check from the Romans and the Vikings, which I will be aggressively pursuing.
Get it going.
Lovely to see you both. A spirited debate as always. And Hotep, thank you very much indeed. Over in America, probably quite a good thing for you. You are several thousand miles away from these two because
you're good.
They're beginning to steam over. I think you got them with the emotion line. Thank you both, all three of you, very much indeed.